for this Zoom meeting. I say, how could YouTube know my?
yeah. Spooky tech things. Oh, we're live on YouTube. It's telling me.
Yep. Now.
Hello, everybody.
Yes, we are on now. Yes. Let me put on social media. Okay. Hello everyone, welcome to the AOAUK's YouTube channel live stream podcast. And today with me is our tutor, Mandy Leclerc and Marcus Patchett.
Hello.
All right, and yeah, it's a Friday again, and we are again online to talk about. So today we have two topics. One is the coming new moon in Tuesday, the Taurus new moon. And then another thing is, personally, I think is more important is about the Jupiter moving into Pisces. I think this is a big thing of the year for astrologer too. So should we start from the new moon chart then?
Yeah.
Anyone have something to say about it? But let me put the chart on. How about that?
Brilliant. That's great. And this is the UK chart that you're putting up.
Yes, UK chart, yes.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I guess obviously it'll be different for wherever you are in the world.
Yes.
But does anyone have anything? Because I don't really have anything massive to say about this chart, to be honest. It's not super exciting. There's no nothing really crazy.
Should I let Mandy do it?
Well, just very briefly. I mean, we were just briefly discussing it before we went live, and it doesn't look like a massively dramatic new moon, but it obviously carries the energy of a new moon. So the new moon, as we know, and is about sort of, it happens once every month, once every just over 28 days. We have a new moon, and it just kind of sets the tone for the weeks ahead. It's a seeding time. It's a time just after the dark of the moon, when the light starts to come back because it meets the sun. It also highlights the themes of whichever sign that the sun is in, which at this point it's obviously Taurus. Talking about a Taurus new moon, which means that the sun and the moon are in Taurus at the same point in the zodiac, which is 21 degrees of Taurus, and this happens on the 11th of May, so in a few days' time. And Taurus, as we know, is all about, Taurus is a fixed earth sign, so Taurus is about maintenance. It's about Taurus likes things to stay the same. It's a slow it's a slow sign. It's a sign of routine. It's a sign of loyalty, and that kind of thing. So if you think about earth, you think about things that are natural. It's about practical, and it's about doing things. You know, if you start a project and you want it to get finished, you might want to ask a Taurus. You know, once perhaps the Aryan energy that comes before Taurus is good at starting and initiating things. If you want something to be completed and also maintained, Taurus is a good sign for that. So the new moon sort of really sort of emphasizes those qualities. So a lot of people use the new moon as a point for perhaps meditation or reflection. So anything that's Taurian is a good thing to reflect on. Also nature as well, around the sort of Taurus new moon, the new moon generally, but this, you know, anything to do with Taurus with this new moon. Marcus, we had to tell us a little bit more about how the moon is comfortable fit for Taurus.
Yeah.
If you'd like to say something about that, that's your area of
well, it's all of our area really, isn't
it?
But yeah. I mean, like, sure, it's moon's exalted in Taurus, so this time of year generally new moon is if the sun moon conjunction isn't being hit by anything really hard, like if it's not opposed Mars or square Saturn or something, then it's usually quite a nice time, sort of in the northern hemisphere. We're getting into spring because the moon is exalted in Taurus, and the moon rules things like plant life, food, comfort, security. And this new moon, Saturn is squaring it super widely from the other end of Aquarius, so there's a bit of difficulty, but actually it's relatively positive in general, because the moon, as it separates from the sun, the first planet it aspects is Jupiter by square, and then the next thing it hits is Venus. So but it's not, there's nothing really crazy going on. I was just going to grab a book if you wanted to say anything else about it, because the one thing I do think is sometimes interesting to look at new moons is the lunar mansion, like what mansion the moon is in at the time of the new moon, because the sun will power up that mansion for the month. Do you know what I mean? Particularly when the moon's in Taurus. So I'm just going to grab that because I've forgotten to bring it. So
okay, that's right. I will continue, because I think one thing we spot before we started with Monday is the only aspect is the sextile with Neptune, right, Mandy? And this is pretty interesting because Neptune is not very Taurian thingy. Neptune is more fluffy, more dreamy, more colorful, and it really gives people a feeling about maybe something like something to dream about, something to think about. I think is the sextile of the new moon with the Neptune. Maybe they think about what? Maybe like what say? Think about holiday.
It's imagination, isn't it? Another aspect that sort of stands out that's not very connected really to the moon, but is perhaps might be supportive. That's Saturn, as Marcus said, it's a very wide square for the new moon. That Saturn in Aquarius is actually in quite a close trine aspect with Mercury, which is in its own sign of Gemini. So that idea of a dream and an idea and a thought, and Saturn actually helps with the practical sort of actually turn this into a reality. And Taurus is about turning, Taurus is a productive sign. It wants to produce things. It wants to have something to show. Taurus is not so much about sort of like airy fairy ideas. Nothing. It needs to have something practical and pragmatic and physical to show for its efforts.
But I think it is Saturn as it's square from the very wild angle. So we know the orb in the astrology is more about the how urgent it could be. And how so this kind of a wide, or maybe we just yes, I know I have to do this, but maybe
it's a whole sign thing. It's just showing that this month there's still a lot of restrictions and limitations in place, particularly on social movement and social interaction. And even if it's not that intense for a lot of people as it was, it's still there, but it's not super intense. And I like what you're saying about the sextile to Neptune, because one of the other things that might work out is potential benefits for stuff like plants and agriculture. You know what I mean? Because thinking of Neptune as being kind of watery and in Pisces. So it's a sextile is always this sort of potential good, isn't it? It's like you have to do something to kind of bring it about. So maybe it'd be quite good for if you've got some sort of, I don't know, physical, like, I don't know, making sculpture or something, like creating something physical or working with the earth. So if you've got to design your herb garden or, do some like nice gardening design stuff or some physical decorative work, maybe now's the time to redecorate the bathroom or something,
And the new moon's good for planting seeds, isn't it?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Totally.
Planting by the moon. If you're interested in that kind of thing, I think planting by the moon is a sort of an area of astrology that's
indeed.
That's
interesting, it's fun,
to look
and
at.
it's really interesting to experiment with, actually, just like to see, and just make it. The general rule is I probably wouldn't plant anything on the new moon. The rule traditionally was like a couple of days later, just when you start to see the moon again, and just check what the moon's applying to, because general rule of thumb, if she's applying to Jupiter or Venus, plant stuff. If she's applying to Mars or Saturn, probably don't bother. You know what I mean? So, but I just had a look at the lunar, and the lunar mansion is an interesting one. It's literally in the last degrees. I'm using tropical lunar mansions for any astro geeks out there. So,
yes.
Some people will disagree with that, but whatever.
That's right.
It's a slightly conflicted mansion, this one. It's a mansion indicating discord, enmity, ill will and hindrance, and it sort of indicates conflict generally. And so I think even though the new moon itself looks pretty neutral to mildly positive, I think that the fact that it's powering up that lunar mansion a bit is probably speaking to Mars being a bit dysfunctional in Cancer still, and Saturn still overcoming it a bit. So,
and in this chart, it's pretty
Yes.
interesting. Have you noticed that Mars was a very tight square with Chiron?
yeah,
And my notice is like every time when I see the Mars Chiron aspect, no matter is like a major aspect or minor aspect, usually there's something to do with a Martian type get hurt. Usually, I don't want to say prediction, but that you can see like a riots, or sometimes it's like a mass gunshot, or
Yeah.
people get injured. Most people get injured. So I really hope this will not happen, but keep an eye on this, because
I think you
tight
might be right.
square.
There'll be some of that going on. I think just looking at the lunar mansion,
Yeah.
there's going to be some of that continued theme that we discussed a couple of weeks ago, whatever, when Mars went into Cancer last week, I think.
Last things I remember before we start a podcast is that we're talking about that degree of ascendant in UK. That 15 degree Scorpion is where aligned to the fixed star Zuben at Nubi. And this is for Libra is like a south scale. But we know that for the ancient people, that this is also the crow of the Scorpion. So this is South Crow.
Yes. It's the more difficult one, because there's the north scale, isn't there, and the south scale, and this is the one that's more difficult. Like
I heard about you. You have some experience with it. Could you
couple of little ones? Well, it's quite close to it's not on my ascendant in my birth chart, but it's close to it. And so a year or two after I was born, about 1.5 years exactly after I was born, it came to my ascendant by a technique called primary direction. And when that happened, I had a major medical incident as a baby. I was in hospital, had major surgery, and because the south scale traditionally is a Mars Saturn star, it can indicate sickness, obstruction, injury, poisoning. And they found that I had a hole in my diaphragm and it wasn't allowing me to digest food, so I kept vomiting, blah blah, all this lovely stuff. So I was in hospital for a while, and there's a picture of me as a baby, like all shrunken with tubes going into me, and obviously my family couldn't visit or anything, so that was great. And then the other less difficult or traumatic indication of the star, the more prosaic indication, can be its traditional name was the insufficient price, because they sometimes called I know you know a bit about this, Rob. They called the north scale the sufficient price, and the south scale the insufficient price. And I remember a few years ago at one of my old jobs, I was in a bit of not a dispute, but let's say they'd given me a new contract, and it cut my pay effectively by about a third. So I wasn't happy about this, obviously. So I did a horary, asked a question, see what would happen and what my best angle was. And there was that degree in this star rising. And that immediately gives you quite a negative response, saying, because I was asking, should I ask for more money? Should I press for more? And the insufficient price rising, it can sometimes be an indication of money issues or not getting quite enough. There are other positives in the chart. So like with this chart, the new moon is okay. So we're not saying everything's going to go mad, but just it's one important indication, because they say that the rising sign is a bit like the cover of the book. It's got a star on there. It's like a little title or a subtitle, to that book cover.
And this is only for UK, not for anywhere.
This is just the UK.
Just UK. Yes. And I think the very interesting about the Libra, this sign, because some astrologer does think about because in the Babylonian time, when this Libra rising become the heliacal rising stars, and it was the time they start to gather around for the market for sale of things. So this was like indicated time when you run in the business. So both star, one is a sufficient price and one is insufficient price. So yes, Marcus.
One final, we don't spend too long on this star, but I did want to say one thing for it. In William Lilly's Christian Astrology, his is the only traditional text I know says something positive about this star.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes, he calls it Lucida Lancis, the south scale. And I think back 400 years ago when he was writing, it was probably brighter. It was maybe first magnitude back then, because now it's a lot dimmer. But it was one of, he named it as one of the stars that would give eminence or importance to somebody if it was on an angle of their chart. But it would be eminence that was, you had to really earn everything. And if it was not supported by other good things in the chart, he said it would cause problems. So it could indicate something like in a chart of a person, somebody who becomes famous for the wrong reasons, like infamous, or somebody who hard earns their success through, you know, like lots of knocks and hard graft. And if their chart is otherwise good, they may retain that success. But if it isn't, it's kind of, he uses a really colorful phrase. He says, if it is not supported by good other good indications, they will be cast down from their office back into the dunghill or something like that. So it's just like, whoa, okay.
No wonder. I think we see this insufficient price, or what the William Lee say. It is very interesting. Like Dr. Benedict Brady mentioned about this star is about social reform, but not for personal benefit. This is very interesting. I think we should stop here because we have a more important subject to talking about.
Before we do, for the listeners and obviously for the replay on YouTube, can one of you just repeat the name of the star we're talking about, and so that people can look it up?
As a Zuben Escanubi.
Zuben Elganubi.
Elganubi.
Zuben Elganubi.
Or the south scale.
South scale. Yes, south scale. Yes.
Thanks, Mandy.
Let me put on YouTube. Don't worry, I'll put on YouTube. Yes. Excellent. Okay. Should we move to the most important topic of this week?
A much more fun topic. Yeah.
Fun topic. Okay. As we know, as we say that this week, about next weekend, I think indeed, the Jupiter going to move into Pisces. So here I prepare a little bit. Is Jupiter's agenda. Have you seen it?
Great. Oh, nice.
So it's on the 13th of May, and Jupiter move into Pisces. Will stay there, and on the 20th of June, around the summer solstice, Jupiter will start retrograde. And on 28th of July, Jupiter move back to Aquarius and will stay in Aquarius until 29th of December, move into Pisces again. But this time will be like stay there a little bit longer until May 2022. And then interesting, this is most striking, is on end of October 2022, it will back to Pisces again until end of December, and then move back to Aries. So this it's like a moving in and out and in and out.
So we've got a little preview, haven't we?
Yes. Yes.
So the next 3 months will give us a bit of a preview of that.
Yeah. Okay. Should we look at the chart while we're talking about it? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, great.
Okay. So how about Marcus? Maybe you can start with what's the point of view about a Jupiter in the more traditional way, and then we can go to Monday.
Sure. Yeah. So, well, traditionally Jupiter ruled two signs, right? So ruled Sagittarius and Neptune and Pisces. So it's entering its own sign, its other own sign in Pisces effectively. So Jupiter is very strong in Pisces. Jupiter really likes Pisces. And I have a couple of thoughts about this. This is kind of a very mixed bag. It's really positive in one way, because it's kind of like now we've got Jupiter really strong as well as Saturn. And Jupiter is no longer, once Jupiter's out of Aquarius, it's no longer being told what to do by Saturn. Jupiter is telling himself what to do. And what Jupiter likes in Pisces is compassion and freedom and the ability people to do what they want to do. And it wants to take care of people and make everybody feel a bit better. So it's kind of, that's a much better vibe on the other hand, that the flip side of that is that while Jupiter is in Aquarius, while he's being controlled by Saturn, so he can't really undo any of the stricter edicts that Saturn might propose, he's also kind of softening Saturn up a little bit. So in Pisces, he doesn't do that. So it's almost like when Jupiter moves into Pisces, it's like for the world in general, you might see a lot more a lot more opening up, a lot more freedom, a lot more people enjoying themselves and sort of maybe being a bit kinder. But at the same time, any sort of harsh social strictures will be a bit less moderated, which is going to be, it's a weird mix, but on the whole, I think it's positive because Jupiter getting stronger in general increases the amount of good stuff that's coming. At least that's the way I see it.
Okay, Mandy, how about you? How you see this Jupiter moving into Pisces?
Yeah, and echo obviously everything that Marcus has said, but you know, also I think we kind of get very excited when we see. It's easy to, I think, get excited and over idealistic when we see Jupiter moving into Pisces, for example. Obviously, Jupiter can be about idealism, as can Pisces as well. So we can look forward to some amazing things. It's going to happen. We're all going to start looking after each other. We're all going to get sensitive and have a deeper awareness.
Peace and love on earth and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
We're going to find God and meditate and be compassionate and you know, I'm sounding a bit cynical here, and all these things are important, and I think they're values that I like to try to express. But very much, if Jupiter is about the search for truth, I think we need to look for truth through intuition. You know, less on the less sort of logical side. We want to look for higher wisdom, for example. Access the imagination, use the imagination to sort of, you know, understand what's going on. You know, it likes to sort of similar to Jupiter in Aquarius, really. It likes to, you know, that there's going to be more awareness of the underdog, charitable help, you know, being charitable, helping others, and I think maybe empathy as well. But,
yes,
we're going to have to try and find our inner empathy for people, because, you know, I think we're in a situation through this whole pandemic whereby you know, inequality has, you know, the inequality gap has got even bigger than it was before the pandemic. So I think we need to be aware and have compassion and you know, and Jupiter's also about foreign countries as well, foreign to us. So I think things like aid for foreign countries that are struggling, that, you know, for example, we were talking about India briefly last week, you know, the vaccination program isn't working. Oxygen is now the currency. People are dying from lack of oxygen, lack of hospital places. So there's all those kind of things to think of. And I've got a little bit something very brief to say about what Jupiter, you know, what it looks like in the UK chart, but perhaps Rod, you've got something to say first before I go there.
What I think is like my idea would be like focus on this Pisces is like a mutable sign, and mutable sign is for adoption, for we learn how to living with the future, and for we go to adopt the current situation, or maybe adopt for the future. So I think this is one side we have to learn. Maybe there's a new way to live, and but because during the pandemic, we always heard about people asking, when are we going back to normal?
When
are we going back to normal? I think we are in a new normal now, so we have to learn to adopt it. Sorry to say that, but that's maybe exaggerated a little bit. But what I say is,
I think we'd all probably agree that
there's no back to before.
It's not going to go back exactly the same.
We need to learn. Sure. And another thing I want to echo is what Mandy says about these empathy things, because the Pisces is about like emphasize about like we all the same. So like we are in the Jupiter moving into there, tell us we are in the same boat.
which it'll really help with those polarized tensions that have been going on, and sort of exacerbated after all the lockdowns, because people all went a bit mad, and so there's like loads of riots in America and stuff like that. So, but I think going along with what you're saying there, Rod, the fact that when it enters Pisces, it'll be throwing a little wide trine to that Mars with reception. I think that will actually help. It's not going to blow Mars up, that trine with reception. It's actually going to be like, okay, all you people who are rioting and really angry and whatever, and losing your minds about either social justice or vaccination or whatever the topic is that's contentious. And I'm not advocating for others. There's angry craziness on both sides of any of these topics at the moment. I think that will really help. Like, it's just sort of introducing this sense of freedom and social liberation and greater empathy, like both of you guys have been saying, that should just help pour a bit of cooling water on all of that, on all of that fire. So that will help. But at the same time, it's moving out of the same sign as Saturn. So, like I say, my only concern is that any tendency socially towards more authoritarianism is no longer going to be directly antidoted in any way. Although I think the greater freedom that we'll all be experiencing to some degree or other, and I totally agree, Mandy, we can't we don't want to Pollyanna it. It's just like Jupiter, because I'm born at night and my natal Jupiter is really weak. When Jupiter goes into Pisces in my chart, I always look forward to it. It's my 5th house. The last time it did 12 years ago, my DVD collection just quadrupled, but that was literally all that happened. You know what I mean? It's like, it gives you stuff and it will give you a gift, but the gift it gives any person is only going to be equivalent to the power or position of Jupiter in their birth chart. The same goes with countries. The same goes with the situation in the world in general. A planet can only symbolize gifts in proportion to the situation that is actually there, the capability of receiving them, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, Mandy, before you were talking about the UK's Jupiter.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to dwell too much on it because obviously we have an international audience, and to be too UK centric. But I did, before we came on air, have a quick look at where Jupiter Pisces sits as it goes into Pisces in the UK chart, and it sits actually. It goes into Pisces in the 5th house of the UK, which is interesting because that is about entertainment. It's about enjoyment. It's about so it's good timing for opening up. We're opening up. I think May the 17th is a key date for the UK in terms of opening up. We may be able to, to go to the pub. Or already we've had test of live musical events and live festival events. That's going to grow. People are going to want to go on holiday. But that goes, Jupiter goes into Pisces in the 5th house, and we can look at things like the film industry, the musical industry, recreational drugs, for example, which is about Pisces. But it goes into Pisces, Jupiter does, conjunct the Pluto in the UK's charts. So there's some danger there. I mean, logically danger there, of course. It also is in a quincunx, which is a minor, it's a minor aspect, with the UK's Uranus in Libra in the 12th house, which is about hidden enemies and institutions. And quincunxes for me is about, especially in Libra, but with Libra involved, it's about awkward relationships. So we're going to see awkward relationships potentially with so-called hidden enemies. Pisces is about the sea. Already yesterday in the news we saw gunboats arriving off the coast of Jersey because there was a protest at sea by French fishermen who, because of Brexit, have been disallowed to fish in Jersey's waters. We might see more of that, more focus on marine life.
I agree,
what we're doing to damage marine life, for example, and that ecology thing might be coming in. So just a few thoughts, really, just looking briefly at the chart. I don't know what you guys think.
I think this is very, very interesting because we can take a really long time to talk about Jupiter moving into Pisces. But I think today we talk about we are very restricted on time. So how about we ending by everyone give something about suggestion about how we face Jupiter in Pisces, just a very short one. Your suggestion about our audience, how we prepare for the Jupiter in Pisces. Like I will start it.
Okay.
Yeah, my idea is like be more flexible, and be prepared. I think it's like what's the English word say, like we before we say anything, before we do anything, step into other people's shoes to think about it, be more emphasized, because this is Pisces. This is Pisces to be nice to each other. That's what I think. How about Mandy? What would you suggest to our audience?
I think two very quick things. I think one of the things is think about how you can serve and how you can help.
Lovely.
And you know, to bring comfort and help to other people, but also to service your own growth. And the other thing is as well is don't forget to work on your own boundaries. You know, you can kind of lose your sense of your sort of psychic or physical boundaries, perhaps with Jupiter and Pisces. So just think about setting boundaries and knowing when to say no. It's easy to overextend with Jupiter, particularly perhaps Jupiter and Pisces.
Yeah.
Know when to stop, basically. If you're going to these festivals, know when to stop, you know.
Oh yes.
All these music gigs, be careful.
You know what? I didn't think about you talking about it, because for me it's automatically set up like no, don't go in out for a while. Marcus, what's your suggestion?
I think those are lovely. I really like the stepping into other people's shoes for Pisces as well, because Pisces rules the feet traditionally. So that's a great metaphor. Well, that's perfect. But I think I don't have anything. I haven't really cooked this down, so I don't have anything practical to say other than be open, because Jupiter in any of its own signs is always some kind of opportunity.
Yeah,
because Jupiter opens doors, but the doors are only open if you are open to things, if that makes sense.
I agree.
It's like the planet of faith. So you know those kinds of people who are just like, yeah, things are going to work out. They generally freaking do, because that's what they think. So when Jupiter's in Pisces and it's really strong, just be open to any broken relationships in your life, unless they're really toxic, horrible, bad people who might hurt you, in which case, okay, fair enough. But so going back to what Bandy was saying about the boundaries, don't open every door in your house. You know, it's not about that. But I would sort of, to give a more positive counterbalance that message, which is equally important, because Jupiter in Pisces, as Mandy said, can overdo opening those boundaries. A little bit too porous. I would say take advantage of the gifts it offers by being more open. This is just what you were saying, Rod, about the empathy and the other people's shoes. Just being more open to allowing relationships that are broken to heal. And this doesn't mean you have to take proactive action. No, Jupiter is just see it differently. Allow the universe to show you something, to reveal things about the relationships that you have in your life that might change the way you see things more positively. Just allow, just be open. That's it.
That's very, very beautiful, especially for me. I have Jupiter in Capricorn. For me, it's like, what you talking about? Open it. Are you crazy? But I understand this is maybe it is the theme I have to learn to be more open or inclusive or accept what's coming.
It depends, as I say, where Jupiter is in your chart, and you have Jupiter in Capricorn, and Mandy and I have Jupiter in Gemini, so we've all got debilitated Jupiters in different ways. And so it'll show up in different ways according to your capacity. But I do think that is an opportunity wherever it's falling in your chart, if you know your own chart. And just I had one final thing to say, just from what you're saying, not about Jupiter and Pisces, but just about you're saying about we don't want to be too UK centric with the charts. Just if anyone watching really wants us next time to take a look at a chart for their country, if you're in another country, whack it in the comments on YouTube, and we'll maybe have a look at it. So
yes, please. And
any topics you want us to cover as well.
Oh yes, definitely. Thank you. Yes. So today is our cover about the coming new moon and the Jupiter in Pisces. And next week is very, very busy, to be honest. The next week we have a lot of things going on, and then so I think we have a lot of interesting things to talk about, because there is a moon wobble things going to happen soon, and then Jupiter change the sign. We maybe have a quick review about it and see what turns up on the news. So maybe, next Friday we will have like a similar topic, but we definitely going to talk about the moon wobble. What does that mean? And then there's some other things turns up. We will see. Okay, so thank you everyone. Thank you, Monday.
Rod is an expert on the moon wobble, so I'm looking for. I might not be
I'm
able
looking
to
forward to that as
join
well.
live, but I'm looking forward to it.
We'll just be
The moon
sitting here with a cup of cocoa.
And then we just like
listening to
I will find some topic for you guys. And yes, please, if you have any topic you want to talk about, or you have any question about astrology, leave on the comment here, and then we will try to find the suitable time to talk about it. Thank you very much. Thanks, Marcus. Thanks, Mandy, and thank you,
Thanks, guys.
everyone.
Thanks,
Bye. See you
Rod.
next
Thanks,
week.
everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.